£100 that's cost. Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't look good, would it, if people came and started hacksawing bits off it?
So adding knives to it.
Put the wings on.
Have you guys prepped? I haven't.
Don't you worry.
Because
I did a bit
feel...
of reading yesterday.
Right, so we're going to read together questions.
No, but you already know stuff, I don't know it.
I know, but I can't, yeah, I've just been so busy, I just haven't had a chance, so it might be a...
Shall we run through the questions?
Well, have they changed?
Yeah.
Oh, then yes.
All right. So basically, we've got a question about introduce the Knife Angel. Why is it in Bradford? And then it's to kind of set the scene a bit, like how is knife crime defined? Like, is carrying a knife legal? Is that a crime? What is the definition of knife crime? And then what happens to someone who commits a crime? What's it like in Bradford? What's prevalence? And what's that like compared to the rest of the country? Because the Angels travelled from city to city, hasn't it? So, and we're like the 35th city. Does that mean there's more crime in different cities than there is in Bradford, that kind of thing? Is it on the rise? Has the police do you have to change your tactics because of knife crime? Do you have to have a different sort of approach to stopping people and that kind of stuff? How does it affect families and the families that are involved? And what help is available to those families? Why do people carry knives? More sociological. And then what happens to someone who's arrested? Oh, I've asked that question.
Are these all aimed at...
They're kind of generic
generic.
questions to spark a bit of debate.
Okay.
And what can we do as a society to reduce knife crime? What next for the Knife Angel?
What do you want from that? In terms of what next, what do you actually want from that?
Well,
where it's
I
going?
mean, what next in
yeah,
Bradford?
it's just
About
we
next to
started
Bradford.
with the Knife Angel. Let's finish with the Knife
Okay.
Angel. It's kind of
Where is it going next? Leicester or something?
Crew.
Crew?
Crew.
It's going to Crew. Mm.
Yeah, about. Yeah.
Train station hub, isn't it?
Train station hub, yeah. If you ever go to Wales, you'll go through Crewe.
So it's quite a small place actually to be hosting it. So.
Yeah. So you've got the microphone, the headsets.
Yeah.
If you put the headsets on, you'll hear the mics.
Right.
So Cynthia's mic 1, Alice your mic 2, Michelle your mic 3, James your mic 4.
Do you want to check if that mic is turned on?
Yeah. These are the microphones. If you take the end off, they're unidirectional. That means you have to speak in there, really. I know it's got a phone on the side, but if you speak directly into it, then it's good. If it's too low, you can twist this and you can move it up. This one on, there you go. And then if you talk through, you should be able to hear.
Hello, hello,
So
hello.
do we need to turn them down then, or is it?
No,
Is
we can
that
do
not a
all
down
that
off, I
through
mean?
here. So if you talk into it, so if you get...
Do you mean on the headphones?
I mean, if I'm not
We
talking.
can turn the headphones down if you want.
It was a bit loud in here. That's better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if you talk
Do you want to say something?
talk into it.
Hello.
Perfect.
There you go. You can see you've got a waveform.
Hello.
Don't take my own voice.
Well, mine was too loud. It was really echoing.
Hello,
So.
yes, I'm talking.
Hello?
Can you hear me
This
talking?
is very loud. This is loud too. Yeah. I just increase. Yeah, it's increased.
Why do we need headphones?
You don't need them.
You can hear
Some people like it.
They're not cool.
Yeah.
Means you mean business, Alistair.
So headphones, so that in case you can't hear yourself, that means it's not recording. So you just a lot of.
Okay.
We don't need them then.
You need
You
them
don't have to
on.
if you don't want to.
So maybe you're saying something and it just goes off. It's easy for you to know, and you let me know.
I can't hear anything anyway.
Cause I reduced it.
No,
So
I
I don't
can't.
know.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
Also, James is a really good freestyle rapper.
Are you sure we'll not start with your rap?
You actually. What? You don't look like a rapper. So just let's be clear, we're gonna edit the hell out of this, aren't we?
That's Emma.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Are you ready?
So cut out all the swear words.
Cut out all the gobbledygook.
Protocol and everything.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed.
Oh, you thought it was live?
No, I'm joking.
Ah,
Practically everything we say until we start will be a joke.
okay.
And then everything we discussed when we finished will also.
Yeah.
Have you got your data sorted then, James, for these conversations? Or do you just date her?
It just makes it up.
Oh,
You just
no,
know.
I don't. I've been
I
invited
hope
not
you've
to.
prepped this because there's a lot of police questions there.
Is the
I've
one
been advised
thing-
not to go
it
down
is-
the.
Yeah.
I've been
Data route.
taken to one side and told what I can and can't say.
Okay.
It's not going
Do you want us
specific
to delete some of them questions? What
No,
usually
no,
We can
well,
talk
happens-
generally about violence being reduced, can't we? So, how do we stop talking over each other? That's my first question.
If
Do
you
we
yeah,
indicate?
someone else you just. If you want to say something, just yell.
All right, so we're just talking. It's like a discussion. We're not sort of
Yeah,
right.
it's
Cool.
quite
That's fine.
informal,
Okay.
quite relaxed.
That just
Okay.
walks straight, that company. Looks like it's a cop.
Emma's been
It's
on
a
the
good
lash.
angle.
You're right.
Whoever had this
Well
last
spotted.
did
We're
it
good.
right.
Yeah, I've been teasing her. She went, she's partying on the weekend.
It was a uni event. It was a uni event.
The sports thing.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. On Monday, the 3rd of April, there was an unveiling of the traveling sculpture, the angel, the knife angel. The 27-foot tall knife angel was unveiled at the City Park in Bradford. Its purpose is to be an educational tool to raise awareness of knife crime and violence in the city. It has previously been displayed in Liverpool, Coventry, Hull, Birmingham, Middlesbrough, and now in Bradford. This knife angel was made out of 100,000 blunted knives and blades that were either taken off the street or used in crimes. Some of these blades have the names of the victims engraved on it, written by friends and families. And of course, in the studio with me, I've got Alessa, Michelle, and James to talk about the idea behind this and why the angel has decided to visit us in Bradford. I would introduce each and everyone. Alessa Goldman is
Hello.
a professor of molecular biology from the Faculty of Life Sciences in the University of Bradford. Also, the director of local activity partnerships in the university today. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
So good to have you. Yeah, it's good to go. Also, this is what I do when I'm trying to celebrate someone. Michelle Buchan is in the studio. She's a team manager at the Bradford and District Youth Justice Service. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Exciting stuff.
Yes. And James Preston is in the studio. He's from the West Yorkshire Police. Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
So we're just going to have a normal discussion. I know we already started bits about it, and James and I were having a conversation at the unveiling the other day, and I was asking you, why do people see the need to move around with knives? What do you think?
Well, the decision why people do that is varying and it shifts over time. It can be linked to being fearful themselves of being a victim of knife crime, and maybe they've had some threats. It can be because they're linked to have a gang affiliation. And you know, the list can go on there. But what I'd say in Bradford, and just generally from my experience as a police officer, I've got quite a varied experience to draw from, in the fact that I've worked neighbourhood teams, patrol teams. I've covered GEMLOC, which is a specific weapon targeted initiative, and more recently I work on the schools and higher education team, which includes the university here, so I work on campus. At the moment, as a sergeant, so I'm overseeing lots of investigations, and in the vast majority, when we talk about young people, tends to be males, and it's very rare that it's someone that's arming to go out to commit an offence. It tends to be the vast majority scared young people.
Wow.
And it's not a big problem from what I've seen in Bradford, but just one person getting an injury from a knife-related incident is enough to warrant the knife angel being in Bradford for me.
Why do you? I'm going to also ask general questions. Why do you think people actually move around with knives?
I think they do it out of insecurity, really, as we were hearing, but also there's something of a fashion about it, I guess. If your friends are doing it, whether you're in a gang or just a friendship group, I'm sure it becomes a bit of a status symbol, and something that you feel you have to do to be part of that group.
Millennials. Michelle, why do you also think that guys walk around with knives?
Yeah, I think very much what what James and Alistair have said. Really, I think ultimately it's it's a bit of a pretense. It's a it's a self-harming thing potentially for any problems they're going to receive or come into. I think sometimes it ultimately we're trying to provide education to to solve problems other than using violence, and ultimately if you only need to listen to popular culture music, to film, it's all about getting tooled up, carrying knives, solving your problems through violence. I mean, it's really interesting because I think if you look at the knife crime figures, knife crime hasn't increased as such. It's more that it's sort of become glamorized. And I think even just the term knife crime, or carrying a knife, it almost glamorizes actually carrying the knife, because as we know, knives should be in the kitchen drawer, shouldn't they? So
I thought so.
yeah. So it's really difficult, I think, locally in Bradford to know exactly how many people out there are carrying knives at the moment, and that is this very scary thing.
I'm coming back to you. The 27 feet tall knife angel has been unveiled. Why is the knife angel in Bradford?
Yeah, so well, as you know, it's the Knife Angel was created by Alfie Bradley, as you've already mentioned. It's been doing a tour of the whole of the England. You have to apply for the angel to actually come to the city, and it stays for a month. It's all about providing and promoting education, really, and also sort of promoting all the services that are around supporting people. I think I think what's really clear, and I suppose the message that we're trying to put forward isn't that, look, Bradford's got a really bad knife problem, which is a common misconception of the Knife Angel. It's more around look, this is a problem we need to solve, and it's about solving all forms of violence. It's about renouncing violence in any shape or form, not just knife crime, even though it's made of knives. The message is just why we're using violence to solve our problems rather than knives. So yeah, I think that's the sort of message, and obviously the Youth Justice Service are leading the project. A lot of work's been put into various different events to promote education to young people and also to people of all ages as well. And that's another really important point. There isn't just young people. Young people might be carrying knives, but people of all ages are using violence.
A lot of people get this wrong. James, I want to ask you this question. Some people feel like knife crime is you just moving around with a knife. How is that concept really right? What exactly is knife crime?
Well, knife crime will be anything from being in possession of a knife. Obviously, you can be lawfully in possession of a knife, and if you've got a tradesman, for example, cutting carpets, you can have a knife lawfully. Certain religious reasons, you can have a knife out in the public.
When does it become a crime?
It becomes a crime. Let's say just possession. So even someone that can be in lawful possession at a certain time of the day when they're doing their job, but then let's say if a carpet fitter finished his shift and decided to spend all night in the pub with that weapon, then he'd be unlawfully in possession of that weapon because there's no lawful reason for him to be in possession at that time. There's been an actual change, a relatively new change in the law, in that a lot of weapons, and they're very specific ones, like butterfly knives, flick knives, knuckle dusters, where they would have obviously been illegal to have it out in the public. The law's changed now to even in private. If we were to find a person in possession of those weapons, they would be committing an offence. But then, moving on from that briefly, any other offence can be aggravated by the use of a weapon.
Sure. I'm going to go to you, Alistair. The history of knife crime in Bradford is a bit daunting. Like a lot of people would say, crimerate.co.uk would say that Bradford is part of the dangerous cities in the UK. How true is this?
Well, I mean, all cities in the UK experience knife crime, and Bradford isn't the highest in the whole country. I know in relative terms it might be a bit higher than some of the others, but I think the really important point that we heard before is that it only takes one crime, one event, one stabbing to cause absolute devastation to the family involved. In fact, to both families, the family of the perpetrator and obviously the family of the victim. So in a way, it doesn't really matter
True.
if it's the city with the most or the least, because every single act of knife crime is appalling and devastating, has impact for many, many years.
True. Michelle, how has, in your experience,
Mhm.
how has this knife crime affected families that are involved?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I work for Bradford Youth Justice Service, and we have, we have a lot of young people that are involved in various different offences, and with us for various different reasons. Along with that comes with them also being victims of various different offences. So it might be that they've been involved in. They've been a victim of a stabbing, and then they've ended up being convicted of something else, gang culture, etc. It might be that some of their friends have sadly been killed, whether that's by a knife or via vehicle crime or via just just an accident. It does. We see the devastating effects upon young people, and also then what then sort of leads them to their next choice of behaviour, I guess. We've lost. It's quite significant actually in Bradford. We've lost quite a lot of young people in the last few years to varying different accidents, issues, offences, and it's just ultimately extremely sad and a complete waste of a life.
Sad, very sad.
Yeah.
James, it just looks like I'm going like to everyone. I wanted us to be like, James, for you, with your experience, what happens when someone is nabbed with a knife? Is there like a particular sentence? What do they go through? And of course, with your experience, how many people do you see around? Like, what is the statistics for you of people that you get nabbed who have been moving around with knives?
Well, the figures I can give you very briefly are, and I think what's happening is with social media and the news, we're much more heightened to what goes out there, goes on out there. So you can almost on occasions get, like through Yap app, live footage of something that's going on, and all of these things and what you see on social media and using the internet can desensitize people to, and make them more worried about these things and more likely to be fearful when they're out there. But that's just the world we're living in today, and something we're going to have to adapt to. But in real terms, when we're taking away, that misinformation that's often out there in the social media, we've actually got a reduction of 4% in knife offences.
Oh, good.
And 14% since pre-COVID. So no, we're in an improving position on this, but we need to keep going, and we need to work together.
Better.
And this is where it's key, because this isn't something that police can solve on their own. We need key partners. We need to be all working together.
True.
And when I say key partners, I'm talking about the public. The public are key to this. The public have got the information that we need, where we can all act together, move together to make our society safer. And it's something that needs to happen. And people need to feel more comfortable, whether they give that information themselves and give their details or anonymously through Crime Stoppers. We need that information to stop this from happening. Just one person getting injured is too many, as I alluded to before.
But that's great news. That the crime rates are really reduced. Like you said, we just have to continue to get better. That's good news for us. Michelle, how is Bradford compared to the rest of the country?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's always a difficult one, isn't it? I don't have any statistics here with me today, so I wouldn't like to sort of guess at those. I think, as we've heard, as James said, the knife crime locally since COVID has reduced significantly. And it's a good reduction, and the key is to keep reducing that. And I think every sort of town and city in UK would agree with that, and everyone's working really hard to reduce knife crime and violence, you know, across the UK, in every police constabulary, you know, every youth justice service.
Sure.
You know, I think what's been really good about the Knife Angel project is, you know, being able to link in with other cities that have hosted the Knife Angel and talk to them about the reductions and the impact that the projects have had, particularly in Merseyside, you know, Gloucester, Milton Keynes. You know, just from hosting the Knife Angel for, you know, for a single month, they've seen significant impact, you know, in education packages, you know, in blended instrument offences. So I'm hoping that that will, you know, that will also be mirrored in Bradford as well, and Bradford district as a whole. So I think, yeah, it's difficult to sort of compare. I don't want to create some sort of leaderboard that isn't, you know, it just, as Alyssa mentioned before, I think it's really pertinent just to sort of think about the, you know, devastating impact of one offence rather than looking at figures of, because I guess, you know, one story behind one knife is very different, and, you know, to another.
I feel like this is my next question is, I would like to get everyone's opinion on it, because as a society, it would be nice to know like what steps and what things we can do to make it better, to make us reduce this crime rate. I'll start with you, Alyssa.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough question to answer, isn't it? Because
Sure,
it's easy to say things,
sure,
but to get inside the head of young people and to really know how to communicate with them in a way that they appreciate, I think is what's really difficult for us. I mean, I kind of want to put the message out there that there just isn't a value to carrying a knife. You know, I guess if you stopped a kid with a knife, they would always say, I'm not planning to use it. Well, so why are you carrying it? You know, there just isn't a value to carrying it. And the fact is that if they end up committing a crime, getting into an incident, it ruins their life as well as the victim's life as well.
Sure.
So there is simply no logical reason for carrying it. Now, I don't know if I could persuade young people with that message, but the question is, what is the message that will
Talk
persuade
like
them?
a 15-year-old Alyssa.
I'm doing my best.
You've got to say bro a lot, bro and mush round it there in these parts, and you'll be fine, Alistair.
I mean, one thing that I think would help is actually if people had more opportunity in terms of things to do outside of school. And if people felt more respected and more valued as members of society, perhaps they wouldn't be looking for a way to big themselves up. And, you know, I'd just like to see more opportunities for kids, or, you know, 24/7, really.
That's very key. Michelle, that's very key. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I think just off the back of what Alyssa said as well, I think one message that we try to promote in youth justice services about carrying knives is that actually the chances of that knife being used against you rather than you actually using it are quite high. So it's actually, you know, much safer not to carry the knife, you know, because the chances are you're going to, you know, it could be used against you. And we know there has been incidents of that across the UK. You know, so I think that's a really important message as well. It isn't just, you know, once that knife's in your pocket or down your sock or wherever they're putting it, you know, is the chances are that it could be used, that, you know, that you're not just in control of that knife, someone else could be as well. I think for me, just in terms of your question, I think it's about education. I think, you know, and that comes in many forms. So in the Youth Justice Service, we're going into schools at the moment as part of the Knife Angel project. So far, since the middle of last week, we've delivered a Knife Angel special weapons awareness assembly to over 6,000 children across Bradford district. We're also going to Keighley schools as well, the high schools. By the end of the month, we will have delivered this message, and it's about a 45-minute assembly, and it goes through, you know, it's a multi-agency assembly using NHS staff, police, and also youth justice staff, and it's just about educating young people about the dangers of knives, the legalities about knives, safety, how to respond if you're with somebody, you know, you're a bystander and you see someone being stabbed, how to respond medically, what to do, and also just to encourage people to talk to, you know, trusted adults. So in terms of that education, by the end of the month, we should have delivered to around 16,000 young people locally, which is huge. And it's the youth engagement service that are delivering that project, which is absolutely amazing. And they're they sit under the Youth Justice Service in Bradford, which has been a wonderful part of the project and really impactful. So I guess it's that education, isn't it? And I suppose we've been running weapons awareness, knife crime projects in the Youth Justice Service one-to-one as well for a very long time. But ultimately, as we know, when you're working in the criminal justice system, someone has to be ready to make that change and ready to listen.
Sure.
So you can, we're going into schools, great. These kids are sat there ready to listen and learn. But it's that cohort of young people that aren't in school, isn't it? It's that cohort of people that are, in vulnerable situations, and we're trying to reach those people as well. And that's what the difficulty is. So yeah, with lots of projects ongoing, as Alistair said, trying to create more opportunities. But I think it's also around building young people's self-esteem. We've got we're running a professionals conference in a few weeks, and we've got an ex-gang member who's going to be talking. And one thing that he talks about a little bit is about the reason he used to carry a knife was because he had nothing to lose. And when you've got nothing to lose, there's nowhere else to go. And essentially, if you can build people's self-esteem up and have them more opportunities, more social capital, all the rest of it, you will there's more to lose. And I guess it goes with that crime curve, doesn't it? So yeah, education.
Big deal. Let's James, we're going to talk about policing tactics. Has this tactics changed because of this knife crime? The way you police, has it changed?
Well, what I would say is that it's a partnership working element that's key in all this. Previously, the police would do their thing and use the criminal justice system to say we're going to punish you for this. But there's much more joined up partnership working now. The Youth Justice Service, there's police officers that work in there. We have a hub of and we draw together our resources to better try and address this situation generally. And I've been privileged to be working with the Safe Task Force and going into schools and doing these inputs to students, and I have seen and reviewed the crimes of these young people, and it's very, like I said before, it's very rare that someone's going in with a weapon with the intention of doing anything with it. This fear, when you're seeing these kids and they're fearful of something that's going to happen to them and they're arming as a result of that. What's the answer to that? Is putting them in front of a court, is a judge or a magistrate, is that what's going to solve it? I doubt it. So this is where we've got these different ways now that we never had before of looking on a case-by-case basis at the whoever's involved in it. As long as you're under 18, once you get to the age of 18, it's you're going to court. But below 18, we're looking at that individual, we're looking at the background, we're looking at everything, and pulling in so youth justice, social service, looking at them as a person, looking what adverse childhood experiences they've had and what is the best for them in terms of intervention work potentially. Might be court, depending on what they've done, but it may well be, we have inputs like Behind the Blade, where we try and undo that mindset that's in that child's head. And, so going forward, they can contribute to society and not get involved in these things going forward and understand why it's important that they do that. So the options are there for us as police to link in with a panel of people to assist these young people in changing these behaviours. So things are better, much better than they used to be.
I think that's what I've been waiting to hear the entire time, because my question is, or what comes to mind is, what now happens to a child or someone who's below 18 who probably has always mentally sick or always mentally ill, and unfortunately they're carrying it around maybe because of so many times maybe they just have these thoughts in their head and to just feel like, oh, I'm not safe, I need to go out with a knife or something to just keep myself safe. I'm happy you said this, that there are a group of guys who would advise them and engage them. Is there something sort of like an engagement? Michelle, is that what you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the ways that you engage these young guys? How do you engage them?
So the way the service works is obviously if a young person's arrested or for an offence, whether it's a knife offence or carrying a knife or drugs or whatever it is, they would come through to the Youth Justice Service either through the courts or through a police referral in. At that point, we're very much a multi-agency service, very similar to what James is talking about. And it's we've got NHS staff, we've got probation officers, we have police. We have speech and language therapists. We have CAMS workers. You know, we've got a multitude of different supportive agencies. So what we tend to do is try and start at the lowest level possible and offer that support to try and improve that young person's life, to try and make sure they're not going to offend again. That's the premise of what, you know, the Youth Justice Service does. Obviously, considering how serious the offence is and the impact of that offence will depend on the sort of level of intervention that we will give that young person. Often we signpost to other agencies for support. We also have a parenting worker, and we you know, we work with the parents of these young people as well, depending on, you know, the young person's age and if the parents are willing. You know, there's lots of support out there, and there's lots of interventions that we can do. We work with lots of children voluntary as well, which is really positive. You know, I think there's been funding cuts everywhere, as we know, in every agency possible. But I think, you know, once young people come into the Youth Justice Service, it is really positive that we can provide that support in many different ways. You know, and yeah, and just really help them. And I think the one when James was talking before, I think one thing that sort of popped into my head was about, it's about just creating aspirations, isn't it, for young people? If, you know, if they don't have that esteem, or they don't have, you know, they don't feel they've got a positive future ahead of them, let's give them something. Let's really try and, you know, make them feel like they're worthy in this world, and, you know, they've got a bright future ahead of them. Because if they feel like that, I think that makes all the difference.
Alessa, you were saying how the people can engage, or we can engage these young people to do something outside school. I feel like the reason why so many students have failed or are not doing so well is because they just literally come to school, do their 9 to 5 or 9 to whatever time, and they just go back home. They don't necessarily engage in other things. Do you have some examples of things that you know that students can do outside
I
school?
mean, there are many examples across Bradford of groups that are looking to support young people through sports activities, for example. And at the university, we're interacting a lot now with partners. For example, Bradford Park Avenue Football Club, and you know, they have a huge academy, and when the kids get older in their and their training, because they want to become real professional footballers, they still have to be in education, and so they're mixing education and sport. And we're starting to do that now with our outreach type of activities. So when we're supporting kids, for example, in English and Maths GCSE, we're also working with our partners to provide sports opportunities and drama opportunities in our own theatre in the Mill here.
Do students know about this? Because again, these things are available and so many people don't know about it. How do you think that the university can even help to reach out to more people to be engaged?
Well, it's an incremental process. So this year we're working with nearly 400 school students in Y11 in this way. Now, not that many of them this year are engaging in the sporting and the theatre activities we're putting on, but we're learning how to get them engaged every time we do it and getting better. And I'm sure next year we'll get much better engagement in it. We're largely working through the schools. We also work through the scouts as well, and we've engaged several hundred scouts this year in activities on campus for them to learn about opportunities in the university. And I guess the hope is that we're widening horizons and helping kids to see that there's a life beyond their day-to-day life that they see on the estates, and that there are exciting things out there for them to do, and to help them understand that they are there for them, that they fit in these places, they can have good jobs.
I think it'd be also nice to encourage more unis and more like high school to also have more activities to engage us. I mean, it starts from when you're young. Trust me, a lot of people don't do this in the uni. They probably have had this idea from when they were very young, and it just continues to grow and all of that. James, this is almost my last question, don't worry. I know that, I mean, you've been working with the social justice. Are there more ways that you feel like they can also do better to partner? Because of course we always want to get better. I like the fact that you said that the crime rate has reduced, which is really good news. How more do you feel like the social justice can or the youth justice can better improve to allow better partnership for you guys?
Well, to be honest with you, I'll be honest, I can't really. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but I think we're in a very good position, you know, in the way that we're working together as a partnership. But, you know, other than what I said before about this better working together and looking to change lives at that young age, it's also just as important to know that there's consequence once you're an adult and you don't get the message and you choose to behave in these certain ways and go out into the public armed with weapons with a certain mindset. And Operation Gemlock is a fantastic example of West Yorkshire Police doing targeted work, officers who are just there solely to go out there and deal with reported crimes, instances of knife-related incidents, and also those people that we know from our intelligence picture build-up who are involved in those crimes and carrying weapons in the public. No, they're doing fantastic work out there, and we've got powers that we use, and we use them carefully. Section 60 powers, for example, and they can allow us to search anyone within a certain area in order to, if it reaches a certain threshold where we can, you know, search people for weapons in certain circumstances. So we've got the powers, you know, but this, like I say, wherever we're sitting on this, whether it's looking at youth and changing mindsets there or giving consequence, West Yorkshire Police has improved. And I think, you know, the Knife Angel coming to Bradford is a great thing because it just gives us that focus. And it's you know, just for the example of this legislation that's changed, if we do it right and we get that message out there, there'll be plenty of people out there thinking, well, I've got that stashed in my house. I'd like to get rid of it. And now I thought I could have it in my own house, but I can't now. No, so it's a good time to get rid of this. And we get the more we get off the streets, the better. So we're pushing that going forward, but Michelle.
Absolutely.
So what I'm getting out of this is, Michelle, we need to have the video, because I remember going to YouTube and I said to myself, it'll be a good video to download and upload on our profile as a uni. I was looking for a video that would, you spoke about the 45-minute video, the video that you play in every school. It'd be nice to have it like on social so that every other person can watch it and so that we can be aware of the crime and all. So what's next for Knife Angel? Where's Knife Angel going to next?
Yeah, so I guess for Bradford in terms of Knife Angel, so it's going to be at Centenary Square, City Park until the 27th of April. We've got several events on before the end of the month, which you know, are all hopefully going to be impactful. We've got a professionals conference, as I mentioned before, and that's students are welcome to join that as well. So I'll send you those links and you can share those on your socials. That would be wonderful. So anyone who's interested, any student at all who's interested, you know, in the impact of crime or hearing about lived experience particularly, are welcome to join us for that. And that's on the 18th of April, 2 till 4 p.m. We have several other sets, as I mentioned, we're going into lots more schools, lots more assemblies. One thing that I'm actually working on at the moment is to create a Knife Angel Bradford and Anti-Violence Month Legacy Fund. So we're creating donations online to really push that forward down at the Angel as well. We've got youth justice staff down at the Angel talking to the public every day, getting stopping the public and asking them to sign up to become an anti-violence champion. We're handing pens, badges, stickers, fuzzy bugs out as well, just really trying to engage the community. So that's going to be happening all month. We've got a huge Scouts event happening on St George's Day and a big event up at the cathedral and a vigil that Bishop Toby's running at the cathedral as well. So that's really positive because obviously, as well as you know, promoting education, the point of the Knife Angel is to remember that you know, lives have been lost as well. You know, if anyone goes down to the Angel, they'll see there's a sign at the side of the Angel. And it does show pictures of the victims down there as well, whose names have been inscribed on the Angel's wings, sadly. So, you know, it's really important to get that message out as well. It isn't just, you know, education, it's about, you know, remembering those lives lost as well. But in terms of the Legacy Fund, we hope to, well, my plan is to hopefully create a day every year or even a couple of days every year and run some Knife Angel legacy events. Just to, and hopefully potentially once we gather weapons that have been handed in the amnesty, to melt them down and hopefully make perhaps a mini sculpture We've got a couple of sculptors locally that are keen to get involved in that, so that
That's
would be really
good.
positive.
Very.
Yeah, so lots of planning to go on. We're also looking at buying into a rounded knife swap, which involves rather than using sharp knives, swapping knives in schools, placements, social care, care homes, etc., to swap the standard sharp knives for rounded knives. And there's a lot of research that proves that they don't cut through clothing and don't penetrate skin. So just to almost those last minute, I'm just going to grab a knife out of that kitchen drawer and use it. If we swap the knives to be rounded knives, it's going to have good impact. And hopefully save a life, and that's the aim.
Sure.
So there's lots of planned things going on for the Legacy Fund, and then the Angel will be making its way over to Crewe once it leaves Bradford. Yeah, so we're only on day 3, and I'm dreading the Angel going because it's just so great to have it here and so positive. So yeah, I hope the listeners will come down and see us and have a chat with us.
Yeah, very nice. That has been Michelle Vulcan, the team manager at the Bradford and District Youth Justice Service. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us about this.
Thank you very
I've
much.
also had Alessa Goldman. He's a professor. Alessa literally just sent me an email. No, this does not make sense to me. Change it. Of course, he is a professor of molecular biology from the Faculty of Life Sciences, University of Bradford.
And can I say from the Centre for Inclusion and Diversity as well at the university.
Ah, see? And James Preston, thank you so much for coming. I thought you were not going to do this because I was like, I always feel like security guys are always shy to talk. But I'm happy you did. Yay!
Well, I'm an actual police officer.
I heard you say that you were knocked to one corner to say you have to do this. Thank you guys. I'm hoping that lots of people would definitely be a part of this. It's a big deal to have the Knife Angel in Bradford. Most importantly, to educate us, like you also rightfully said, to also remember that people have actually been victims. And of course, our heart goes out to their families also. Very sorry. It doesn't matter what year you lost your loved one. It's very, very significant that we celebrate them. And yes, thank you guys for having this discussion with me. We also hope to have a next podcast where we'll talk to families who have had who've had victims of the knife crime, very sadly. And we'll do like a recap of this podcast and we'll put it out there. Also, I will be waiting for the video, for the link, so to add it to this video so that we can get more people to get involved. The Knife Angel is at the Bradford City Centre. So just in case you've not seen it, you have to find your way to the place. And of course, engage with the team members that are there, of course. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Cynthia, and of course, thank you so much for listening. Yeah, that was good. Thank you. Okay.
We've lit the knife hands today.
The what, sorry?
We've lit the hands.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I kind of thought, are we talking about it or not? But it kind of, I guess I didn't
That's what I was
mention
thinking when I was speaking.
when. Yeah. Or do we want to cut it out? We can cut it out.
For what?
You could have a niche audience into it, so.
Yeah, and also I guess I didn't mention the dates or where it is, so I don't, it could be anywhere really, couldn't it? And it might, So I mentioned the knife amnesty, just in terms of handing weapons in and melting them down, but I guess that could be, it could be determined to be anywhere, couldn't it? So I kind of thought, but it was sort of relevant to the
No, I was alluding to it.
legacy.
I was talking about someone handing them in. We're just very careful because if we announce it too early, the amnesty, we're doing it 24th to the 28th.
I don't think you actually used the word amnesty. I think you said it, people have got.
Thank you very much.
No, you did say
I
that.
think I said amnesty. I think I said, we're looking at melting the weapons down collected in the amnesty. Yeah, but I didn't say anything else other than that. But yeah, I mean, when is this sort of going out there?
Emma?
When the fair started.
So basically, we always release videos on Fridays, but because we had this almost Friday, Wednesday, maybe next week Monday.
Right. Okay. So what do you do then? Do you?
Post on YouTube and Spotify.
Oh, okay. Right.
That's all we're on.
And what's the podcast
Rama
called?
Radio.
Okay.
I would send the link out on. I'll send to your email. Pretty much.
So just in relation to the schedule, obviously was there 3 or 4?
We have 4 podcasts.
4 platforms.
Yeah.
So you want Kathy's involvement in any of the other ones?
I think that's an Andy question. I'm just here to say what he said. So I feel the first one is us talk about like the entire idea. Second one will be with families, the guys that have had like involvement in this. And
You got people for that?
you said,
Well, I've got a young person that will talk about her. Well, she was involved in violence, but I don't have families as such, so I don't know if
we got someone, Sophie.
Okay.
She's supposed to give us like a family in Kigley. And that's not going to be filmed. That's just audio because we really want to keep the identity. Then the third one would be with, I can't remember, but I know the fourth one is like a recap of the entire podcast.
Oh, that's right.
I think we
Yeah.
probably just need to be mindful of having a victim's family and then also the young person that's used violence. I don't think that's a good mix, just because it could. Yeah, and I think it kind of puts Sadia, who's the girl I'm going to bring, it kind of puts her in a bit of a funny situation, doesn't it? Potentially they need to be separate.
So for the family, what we want to do is not even ask any question. We just want them to come and share the experience. How did the person or die and how it has affected them as a family, or so literally not asking question, not filming, just hearing from them, just them bearing it all out, telling us how this has affected them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's fine, and yeah, it's more about if you're doing that, and then you've got someone who has inflicted violence and it's just not.
Are they
I
in the
wouldn't be
room? Are
comfortable
they in the
doing
same
that
room?
at the same time.
yes.
Yeah, I think
I think we
that,
need to
that's
really look
what's
at that.
being questioned here, because a family member being in the room may find that threatening. But I mean, equally,
Okay, that's true.
You know,
That's true.
someone who's committed a crime faced with a family member may also not know how to handle that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Sadia stabbed somebody, and I would not want her in a room with a
With
family
the
member
family,
talking about
yeah.
someone.
So-
Although it's connected, I just don't think it's
Yes, I
sensible.
know, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But regardless, the family will still not like it. So what I would let Andy know now is we need to take out the part where we want. Okay, no, yes. On our second podcast, we're just going to have families and families that have been affected.
Okay.
It's on the third one, we're going to have people from the youth community service. That's someone who has stabbed someone. That's someone who has carried a knife, who has been nabbed for carrying a knife, who has been sentenced.
Yeah. So we'll just
So we
have to
have
be really
four-
clear
yes,
what we're actually
yes.
saying in that
Will you
one.
be
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Yeah.
You will, because I can
Yeah.
I can see your.
All right.
It's a
yeah.
bit of a funny one where she's never actually admitted she used a knife, but there was a significant stab wound. Now she's done really well, and she's finished her RADA and she's going off to university in Salvador actually, which is really great. But yeah, we can't be saying she stabbed someone. However,
I'm
we
not
can
even-
say no. What I mean is, I'm just letting you know.
For the next 2 podcasts, nobody's going to say anything. It's just all of them coming on and just telling us about their experience. So I feel like
Yeah.
you'll be there to anchor this.
Yeah, sure. Just
The
let you
third
know, it
one-
was just more to
The
give you a
second
heads up,
one is
really.
with families and
Yeah,
friends
sure.
that have been had
Okay.
victims. Then the fourth one is just a general recap.
What date is the third one then?
Andy sent an email. Let me quickly check.
I'll be there with my pen and paper. Get easy short, isn't it? Confession on a podcast. It's a joke.
Already
Joe.
convicted.
Yeah.
Double
Look
jeopardy.
outside and there'll be like, be all the vans there, won't
To
they? Just see it, like, I've always
good
said I
step.
never did it. So I was like, all right, just calm down. It's fine. I could probably
So she did not-
potentially get someone else as well to come to that. And,
Yeah, who's coming to the family one? It's worth having someone to
Sophie,
support them as well, isn't it?
that's
Sophie
not
will
anything to
support
do with
them
me, I don't think.
because she's
I'm
social justice. I think they have a society, or they have a family, like
In the unit.
a foundation. No, in Kigley.
All right.
And
Oh, I see.
she's chairing it. Sophia
right.
James or so. So she's the one that would anchor and be there to support them.
Yeah.
Then the
yeah.
third one, you're coming in
Oh.
because of the. I'm trying to get the date for the second one, but you already sent it to us.
The first one got cancelled, didn't it? Which was this one. This
Yes,
was
this
today.
one was supposed to be
Yeah,
third.
it's going to be yesterday. Yeah, we were at the unveiling, weren't we? So.
They
Very
sent
bad that the
it.
police went to that.
No, they went to no, to the.
Last night.
Oh, don't worry. It's fine. Alistair was there, weren't you, Alistair? You rely on Alistair.
I covered for you.
I thought you were asleep at one point.
No.
It's really funny. No, you weren't. It's because when I was talking, I just kind of turned to the left. And you'd look, you were leaning out of the way, I think, because that guy was talking.
Yeah.
I thought you were like laying down. Oh my God, it's good to sleep. And, you know, and you just have a
But those chairs are
second.
really different.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know how to place myself on it. Really.
No, it's fine. I think
I
it's
know
just
what you mean.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I did,
It was just a
move
slight
over
thing and I thought,
to the
oh.
left. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
keeps going.
I thought we were going to have Ikram also on the second one. Do you know if he's going to
Oh
be
yes.
available?
So I'm not been. But have you not been talking to him regularly then?
I sent him series of emails.
And he's not replied.
responded
I'm
yet
really
to
surprised by
any.
that. Okay, let me.
I'll try and get someone from Gemlock to the fourth one, the recap one.
Yes.
I think it would be good.
Oh no,
to
the
have,
recap one is talking about what happened in the first. Oh, I can send you the links. The person watches it, then we'll talk about it. So the recap is talk about what we said today, what's going to be said the next one, what's going to be said the third one, and what we've learned from the three podcasts. That's
Like pulling it all together.
What, like a montage or fresh footage?
no, like a fresh
a
one.
discussion. So
So
whoever's there needs to
It'll be
listen to
after. It'll
more.
be after the Knife Angel has left Bradford. Did this really affect? What changes did this bring? How many people were influenced?
I've got some great stories for that already.
So-
We've had, I mean, I wasn't going to mention it today because I just thought it wasn't really, but we've had 5 people approach the Angel already that have had
Oh.
significant things happen and various bits. And we've had kids asking we'll have the amnesty figures as well, won't we?
Okay, so the second one
knives.
is the
4 knives handed in for
Four
like
to knives.
75, yeah, and a pair of scissors. I don't know what's worse, that or 75 guns. Like, actually, I'm not
So the
sure
next
what's
one
worse.
is the 12th. That's next week, and we have another one on the 26th.
So the 12th is for
Families.
Sadia. No, families. So which
Okay.
is the one for Sadia?
26th.
Is that a
26th.
Wednesday?
Yes, on a Wednesday.
And what time's that? 'Cause she's at college.
12.
I don't. I
noon.
think we'd have to do it after school time.
So let's say by 4.
Yeah. She's college. I think.
When's the recap? I'll come to that,
29th.
you know. I'll do
So
it.
it's
29th
26
is a
and
Saturday.
29.
26th, 4 p.m.
29th
Why
of
did-
Saturday.
Oh, that was an
29th of
event, that
April.
was, you raised that already in your email.
That was Andy. So I'm sure it's going to be changed.
No, wrong date.
That's what he did to me in the
Was I
email.
wrong?
No, it just makes me laugh.